Call the meeting to order, 7 o'clock. Don is not going to be here tonight, so I'll step in for him and see if we can keep the meeting moving. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so the meeting is set on the agenda. Previous meeting minutes, I don't think we have those to review at the moment. We'll get those at the next meeting. That takes us down to number 4, which is public input. Anybody that has input they want to make to the group? Quiet on the public input front. So we'll move on to committee and authority member reports. I'll pass out the budget report, and I've emailed this to you guys earlier. Any comments or questions, I'll happily answer them. I will point out that when you look at our expense for repairs and maintenance, we're well over budget on that. It's due to an unbudgeted expense for grass cutting. We thought we were going to be able to take care of most of that ourselves. We've got some areas that we just can't cut the grass. So next year we will get that in the budget. It'll reflect an increase when we go forward, and it does keep the airport a little tidier, looking a little better and safer. Keep some of the animal, wildlife and things out of there. So it's an expense that we have to have. So that's the one thing I will call to your attention. Any other questions or comments?
Should we be about 70?
62%.
62?
Yeah. So right now, it looks like our revenue side looks pretty darn good. We're over our budgeted purchases for jet fuel, which is frankly a darn good thing. It means our sales numbers are higher as well. So I'm quite happy to see our numbers on jet fuel and avgas under low lead in excess of our budgeted expenditures. I think that's it for the committee meetings. Committee reports. We will get into the report on new terminal, the work in that, but we'll get into that as we get into the engineer's report. So otherwise we have a report for the group there. Treasurer's report, we've already covered. Airport manager's report, Randy?
Yes, July was excellent. We did over 5,000 gallons of Jet A, which leads back to the budget. I had 2 loads delivered for September already, and August was great. We did over almost 11,000 gallons of Jet A for August, which is double July. We just finished a Black Hawk maybe 20 minutes ago, and we've got another jet coming in at 8 o'clock in the morning. So we're getting jet pumps every other day, just about it. August, I didn't count them, but there's probably 20 or more jet sales of civilian jets coming in with like 9,000 gallons of transit jets. So that's a lot. We've got businesses coming in, vacationers, primarily businesses with economic growth in Pickens County. So we're getting a lot of corporate stuff in and out. Right now we're able to keep up with it. We called today for a load of 100 low lead. It'll be here before Friday. One of the terminals went down, and the only place they could get it because of the storms was in Pensacola. So hopefully he said he'd have it to us Friday. Other than that, the weather's got some rain coming in and may slow the traffic down, but right now it's very busy all the time at the airport.
Any equipment issues or anything? I know we had some AWAS issues. We had some.
Trinity's been working the last 2 days to make sure all of our lighting is 100%. They're doing checks on every outlet on the whole field to make sure that's all up and running. We got, John Deere said when the parts come in to put the parts into the new tractor, they'll get that taken care of. The AWAS has been surveyed with our engineer in anticipation for the new purchase. And the current AWAS is broadcasting, but we don't have a display in the FBO because the computer got fried with lightning. But it's still broadcasting, it's still accurate. So we're still up and running on that. As soon as I find out from the county that the $13,000 has been received, we'll give Southern Coatings to go ahead to start refurbing the tanks and get everything ready.
Excellent. Mr. Commissioner, thanks again for the tractor. It's desperately needed, as you know.
That's all I got.
So the walkway that we approved for some of the money that we had.
Yes.
Is that what you're talking about? The
Yes, sir.
Gangway and all?
Yes, sir, it's 8,000 change for the renovation of the tanks, and the remainder will go towards the walkway. So we have gained more.
Is that enough?
Okay. It should be, yes,
Okay.
because the last estimate was around 4,000, so it's right there. I'll have enough to get it built.
Okay.
Excellent. Thanks, Randy.
Thank you.
That takes us to the engineer's report, and I think we got quite a bit in that one this
All
month.
good. Lots of things going on. I'm going to talk about, so save the t-hangar and the terminal update for the next item down after the commissioner's remarks. I'll talk about the grouping of projects we're doing, and also we'll talk about the 5-year capital improvement plan that we do every year. We'll run through that tonight. So in addition to the hangars and the terminal, there's an apron expansion where the apron extends back into the grass between the terminal and the AWAS about 70 to 80 feet in there. That project, we bid that last week. It also includes a rehab of the apron area out in front of it. So this will basically be the apron that is in front of the new terminal building. These projects are all in the same grant. That apron expansion and rehab, runway crack seal and marking, wind cone, new wind cone with LED internally lit wind cone, which will be in the same location. The beacon will be repainted and moved over near the fuel tank, so it'll be out of the way of the terminal area. And then the AWAS, the existing one also sits in our terminal area. Those have about a 20-year lifespan on them. We're at the end of our useful life. Included here is a new AWAS. That then will be moved as well, so it'll be cleared out of the terminal area. Those projects, all of those projects with the completion of the bid on the apron expansion 2 weeks ago, those are all done, sitting, waiting for the bid on the terminal building. We'll talk about that in a little bit. The other thing I have to talk about is the 5-year capital improvement plan. I'm going to pass that out.
Before you go there,
Yeah.
on the runway crack seal and remark,
Yes.
that's going to require the airport to be closed for a few days.
Yes.
Any estimate of time down and any estimate of when that will happen?
Yes, so what'll happen is, since it's written in that grant, we have 2 milestones with it. One will be a notice to proceed, which doesn't mean we start that day. We just have to mechanically get that notice to proceed from the grant being actually written. That will likely be maybe December. At that point, we're okay to start whenever we want to in the next year, effectively. So we'll coordinate with Randy, coordinate with tenants and everybody at when's a good time. We have a little bit of weather consideration. If it's too cold, it's not good for us to do marking. So we probably look at doing it maybe in March or something. But we'll give enough coordination, Randy, lead time, so it's as painless as possible in taking care of that. The marking will look fantastic, but the crack seal is also an important thing because it protects our pavement and it has a longer lifespan on it.
Right.
Runway crack seal marking, we had added bid in there to do the apron and a bunch of other things, and that was awarded. We'll have to see the official grant to know that it's in there, but our understanding is we got that as well. So
Excellent.
that's great.
Thank you.
Yep, 5-year capital improvement plan. And I'll leave you with that one. Okay, so every year, all public use airports in the U.S., FAA requires that those 5,000 and some airports turn in a 5-year capital improvement plan. And the ones for Georgia are due in November. We're always proactive. Would you guys like one?
Please, thank
So
you.
this is unofficial. This is a draft version.
Oh, I do.
I get a commission on every one of these that we hand out. So, is there anybody that didn't get one? Oh, wait. Okay, so we have to do this every year. I'll point out a couple of things. One in the upper left, it says, right by where it says draft, it says November 2021. This is when this is officially entered. If you look at the first year when we talk about projects, it says 2023. It seems to be missing 2022. Next July 1st of 2022 is FY23 in aviation terms. So this 5-year capital improvement plan, you see the columns, project description, federal share, FAA share, state share, local share. FAA wants this data so they can see what the demand is, a request for funding. It always exceeds, airports want more money than there is available. So kind of the strategy just becomes to be very efficient and focused with those requests. Obviously, we just talked about all the projects we're getting. That is a function of being really good at putting this plan together. Ed Wendell is a CIP committee. A lot of lifting a couple years ago on this, and now it just becomes evolutionary. So you just keep banging away. In the way the FAA funding works is they take formula that's related to the based aircraft and related to the type of project you're asking for. Safety projects score highest, then capacity, then revenue generation like fuel farmer hangars. When we bundle projects, we can get them to score higher if we bundle them a certain way. That's essentially what happened last year with the projects you got, including the money you got with the terminal building, which was going to wait a year, and we had the idea of putting that in to try and leverage that if we could get that to happen, and that worked. Where you go forward from here, the next priority project is Airfield Lighting. So your lighting system, which is an old port style, is nearing the end of its useful life. So the first project you see on here for the next year's consideration would get you LED lighting system, new PAPIs, upgraded signs, all that, and set you on an arc where that's good for another 20 years. It's also a tone setter in a way. It's lower, it's more sustainable, it's more environmental, it gives you lower power bills, but it again sets the tone with all the other things that you've got going on. The other projects in the first year, South Terminal Apron Rehab construction, that is shown as a 75-25, state and local only. That is the last bit of apron that you would need to have redone. It's out in front of the Quonset hut, and you can literally go out there and see the delineation from other projects. So you're tapping into two different pots with these two requests here. The other item shown in the first year is a DBE plan, 3-year DBE plan. That's Disadvantaged Business Enterprise. FAA requires you to assign on projects that have a greater value of $250,000 of FAA money. Minority and female business owned companies, primarily it's like hauling, grassing, depends on the type of project. Typically those run between 5% and about 14%, but they're assigned specifically to each project. That's required to do that DB plan, so that's only $10,000. We pay for that locally, we get reimbursed in the next grant for 90% of it. Beyond that, second year, security fencing phase 1. Security fencing for general aviation airports, not a high priority scoring from FAA.
That's surprising.
Yeah, if we have, from a wildlife standpoint, if we have wildlife hazards. I don't know if we have any. Yes, we do. We have wildlife hazards.
Yes.
So that starts to score different. So then, and what happens? It's basically the height of the fence is different in the FAA criteria. So in there, we start to roll in that. If you think about what we have with the terminal, the hangars, all that stuff going on, rehabbing pavement, and then you can start getting the more amenities that help protect the users of the airport. So that fence, it's phased. It's set up for a year entitlement money, $150,000. At the time that we get to that second year, we'll ask for that. We'll get a unit price from a bid. If we can get additional money, we'll do it. Basically, there's a finite amount of perimeter fencing. We'll start chipping away and prioritize areas first so that ultimately you're working toward over the length of this 5-year CIP having the whole thing in place, particularly to protect users. In the second year also is environmental for the runway extension to 5,500 feet. So in order to get to 5,500, once we go beyond 5,000, we have a justification study, which is so small, it's paid for locally. We won't even show it on here, but we have to do that. We have to do environmental to show that we're eligible for the funding. Then you see after that, the third year, we get into the design of the extension and a rehab of the runway. So we'll be able to smooth the runway out. You'll have the 5,500 feet that looks like it's always been 5,500.
What was that airport last resurfaced, the runway? Yeah.
Close to, 20, because of extension, I bet that was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And so especially for single runway airports in Georgia, typically from the Governor Sanders 60s and into the early 70s, we're one of the later ones there. So we're in the 70s, and you can kind of go, there's been one overlay 20 years, and then there hasn't been anything else other than that.
So if we do another overlay, does that help us with our weight capacity?
That's a great comment. Absolutely does, because we're asphalt instead of concrete. Every time we overlay, once we get to certain traffic numbers and certain activity levels, we will have weights of aircraft coming in that we'll be able to use to justify. When we do that overlay, we do it for maintenance, it's about 2 inches. The size of the aggregate's so big, we have to go a minimum of 1.5 inches. But when we do that, we will look at what we have coming in traffic-wise, and there may be another inch or so in there to just get us to a number that
Yeah,
protects
and
us.
we're limited a little bit on our single axle weights right now.
Yeah.
We've had some people that we've had to turn away because of that weight limit, so.
In that pavement state, even we did probably 3 runway overlays last year around the state. FA does not pay for the strength analysis at the end. They just don't, you have to pay for that locally if you do it. We can, on the front end, do some things when that year's application goes in to push some things in the narrative that we do. You kind of position us to max that out. Also, again, by the time we hit that 3rd year, there's probably additional site preparation and pay related to hangars to beginning to drive capacity. What that looks like and where that's located, we have some ideas where that could be, but we'll define that a little more as we get closer in years. 4th year, runway extension after construction, south hangar area apron expansion, we'll try to do that. Security fencing phase 2. Last year, we have some placeholders in there that are for property acquisition, west side, east side, security phase 3, and then a supplemental wing cone. You're getting a brand new wing cone, the next 6 months, we'll have it in. This is a supplemental that we want to put in there just to be in the system. So these projects, the ones that are in the 1st year, we have to do a narrative, an engineer's estimate, a sketch, fill out the application, a bunch of work with that, and we have to load it electronically into a system called Black Cat, which they change that every few years. So by doing, and you're always proactive and you put yourself in a great position, by doing this in this meeting and having it set and kind of talk through this, and again, Ed and Randy, this has been positioned, so if there's anything that you adjust on, it's a small incremental adjustment, but by getting this done early, it gives us a chance to have that in. We'll adjust numbers to the current, pricing that we're getting when we submit this in November, that you'll be in great shape. And by what goes in, you're showing again that you're good stewards with the money, you follow the system, you do everything the right way. The reward for that is, the projects that you get.
So having gone through this many years with you for the
Yeah.
last 6 years or so,
Yeah.
I'm pretty comfortable with where we are.
Yeah.
And
It's really positive.
we've really put the work in up front. So we need this approved by the airport authority before we can submit it. So I think it's probably in order if somebody wants to make a motion.
So moved. I'll second.
All in favor of adopting this as given on the draft?
Aye.
Aye. Nays? So approved.
Great.
Draft is now perfect, final.
We'll move forward accordingly. We'll say this, we have to mechanically turn this in November every year. Let's say we got the March and a sinkhole opened up and we had some other emergency, we basically then resubmit an application and it goes in independently and then we do what we need to do to take care of everything. So that's it. That's good. And
Bill,
that's-
what's the current plan on where to get the extra 500 feet? I haven't heard that lately.
So when the 500 feet goes on, basically you've got 500 feet and then there's an overrun area, it's unpaved, dirt area off the end.
Right.
Physically getting that in is a challenge, so you can do a displaced threshold, which allows you to pave and use it for takeoff. You would come into land, so this would be on the north end that you would be
No,
looking
that's
at.
what-
It's on your
that's
long-term airport layout planning document. It's been on there for more than 10 years. So it basically saves you dirt and money, allows you to publish that for takeoff.
Right.
And keep
So-
the road in the same location.
So David, the issue typically for jets is that balance fielding, you gotta have longer to take
Oh, I know,
off.
I know.
Yeah.
I just didn't know what the current plan was, where to get it.
Yeah.
Understood. We can pick up 100 feet or so at the other
And it's
end.
big, just a little, not
Yeah.
much.
Not much.
Not much.
Wide paved for a turnaround.
Yeah. So then that lets you, just a wider arc that without having to refuel, bigger stage, length area, it's really positive. And it kind of flows in all the other stuff going on to your point. And that's all we got until we get to the update on the t-hangar and the terminal, so.
Thank you. Commissioners' remarks?
You guys are doing a fantastic job. I know we've got the lift station, they're trying to wrap up the work on that to get that finalized. And once it's finished, we'll work with the city on getting that signed over to them so that they can get it live, and you'll actually have the sewage capacity running and pumping out. That's moving on target. At engineer speed, no offense, but, so it requires quite a bit more of the research side to get that going. But, so that's moving forward. I know you made a comment about the tractor. We were glad that we were able to get that one there. We picked up a different one on the road department side, so that freed up that space and gave you guys the ability to keep things moving.
So much faster too.
Yes,
So much
it
faster.
is.
Yes.
So I think that, with all the projects and the hangars currently and the work that you're about to go over, I think we're definitely moving in the right direction. So
Thank you.
it's exciting.
On the sewer lift station, I walked that with Tim Stansel sometime back. I know that Tim has been contracted to clean out and make ready those manholes and things, or at least I understand he has.
Yeah.
And one area we identified is the gap between the hangars and the connection to that sewer. So we've got a little bit more work to do in that regard. So we're going to require a bit of guidance and help there, just FYI for you.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you much. So now, old business, t-hangar, box hanger updates.
So the fourth building, the first three came rather going up. The fourth building pad's down, the building's delivered next week. If it doesn't rain, it'll take approximately 5 weeks to go up. That's a little unique, the box hanger is it's got electric bifold doors. There's some other elements of that is a little more complex than the other buildings, but that puts you on the arc where that's done roughly around the end of October, beginning of November. So that'll go in. On the other three, if you've been out there, it's a significant project. The only thing we're lacking now to complete that, some electrical. We've got a little bit of blasting to do to get some rock out where some pipe's gonna go in, and then paving the interior between the hangars. There are some, if you come in from town and you come in that first parking area, you see those gigantic boulders in there. If anybody would like any landscaping boulders, now's your chance. If not, those will be taken away as part of the, don't hurt your back, but those will be taken away as part of the cleanup on the project. So that's all driving. We expect the paving, as soon as we can get that blasting done, we expect that paving to be complete within just a week or two. They'll put that pipe in, finish the base.
So do you have any idea when the blasting is going to be done? I actually talked to the bartender out there this afternoon, and they really didn't have a date on that. But.
Yeah, so we're hoping they could do it last week. So we're hoping that we can do it next week. We did get a bunch of rain. There's one other element. So this is where we're normally blasting, as an example. We had a big project in South Georgia for a taxiway, blasting much rain. This is really precise blasting, obviously. We've got buildings out there, and so between building 2 and 3, if you go out there, you'll see a trench, and you see where the pipe's gonna go, and there's a little, within that trench, there's some rock that's about, so we just need to take out some little spots like that, very precise. And so, sorry?
For the drain?
Yeah, it's where the pipe's gonna go. There'll be, between the two hangars, there'll be 2 drop inlets. There'll be pipe connected underground, and that little bit of rock that shows up. Even though the whole area is site prepped, we don't go down very far for the foundation. The pipe is the stuff that's buried in the ground, and some of the ditching, because those 4 buildings are really, really wedged in there. There were some earlier versions of trying to rotate to get as many units in there as possible to serve everybody who was on the list. So this is very precise. So we want to take the time to do it right versus and just kind of fire away out there. So anyway, we'll do that, and then they'll be able to come right as soon as that pipe's in. Then come back and finish the base for everything.
And paving really is not going to take that long.
It's not very not very long. Yeah.
Very
So
good.
we're in good weather, so if it was, November or something, December, we would, have some concerns about that, but we're good. So, that steel arrives, that'll be a big deal when that starts going up. You really see the whole scale of that project. And again, as you go around the road beside it, that's very much punching above the weight, as we would say,
Yes.
with the airport performance.
Looks great. On the boulders and the leftover debris from the construction, could that not be used over on the other side of the road?
That's where it's going.
Okay.
They're gonna move that all at the end, and So whatever's left out there, they'll take, which is gonna be everything.
Afraid so, yes. Terminal update?
So terminal building, in this bundle of projects we have, the terminal's included in that, Ed, Wendell, terminal committee, and we have been meeting throughout the year. There were some preliminary meetings that we had at the front end to be ready with two prongs on potential funding. The one came through that was most advantageous for us. We're at a point now where we're finalizing some things to get them to a point where it can begin to get rolled out. The biggest thing for us, we talked about this on the architectural style and some of those little tweaks don't really move the meter on the dollar value, but we have to get pricing information on the overall buildings so that the grant that controls all these other projects can be written. Things like the AWAS, we have to order, that takes time, so to get all those other projects to move. So that's been, it's very exciting. There's a lot of things that are moving on with that. And again, the space where this is going is you come in the entrance road around, it kind of empties you out in that grass area. That's where the building's going.
Any update, rough timeline of what we're targeting there
Absolutely.
for start completion?
Right, so that core of the building, we would bid that building in November is what we're shooting for. And then the grant would be written in December and into January, and then we get a notice to proceed on that, just like the others, and then that can start. So I'll add this too, also sitting out there in the way is the electrical bulb. That's getting replaced and moved in the Apron Expansion project. So in those other projects, we'll see the movement of some of the things to get those out of the way, expand the apron, and we'll come in and begin doing the site work on the terminal. So you're then on an arc of, depending if it's 6 months, it'd be midsummer. If it's 9 months, we'll be slightly maybe into the fall.
Probably more
But
like a
that's-
9 month.
Yeah, and again, we talk about steel on the delivery on the hangar, we got the same thing on the building. And with all that delivery on, supply chain stuff, there's some quirky things that are getting, held up. Sometimes the furniture is held up and slow. So there's a lot of components to that building compared to like a T-hangar. But we'll be driving it and, just make it happen. But
Best guess, January 23.
I don't think so. We're gonna,
Do you leave before that?
yeah.
Got $1, I bet you.
Sure. Wendell's got $1. So
It's-
it's no, but seriously, so I'd say a good thing about that, and again, it's all part of the plan that went on the last CIP, is the apron expansion is disconnected from the building, and that's good. We
Oh,
can
yeah.
do the apron expansion.
Yes.
The site grading is disconnected from the building. So the foundational part, just like on the T-hangars, the AWAS is so old and is not the greatest. If we got to a point where the new AWAS was a month away and the old one was gonna hold up the hang, we would certainly go, hey, you wanna, turn off the AWAS.
Yeah, we could operate
For
for
a
a
couple
month
weeks.
without an AWAS.
If you knew we
It's-
could
It's not
communicate.
desirable, but we
Right.
could.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, and so how you would grade, essentially, especially where the foundation of the building would go, you can bring the subgrade up for that, do the foundation, and then come back with the stuff that's surrounded. A lot like what happened with the T-hangars, the first 3 T-hangars, we did the same thing. So because of the way of breaking apart, it gives you the most flexibility in how to assemble it based on what you have in hand or what you have permission to go forward with. That's very good.
okay. Any more questions on the terminal update? All good, thank you. Any new business for the group? Nothing at the moment, good. That leads us to adjournment.
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Opposed? Bye-bye. Thanks much, guys.